Dogworks Radio is sponsored by Alaska Dogworks. Check out their website at alaskadogworks.com. You can support this podcast on patreon.com/firstpawmedia.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by First Paw Coffee Company, specializing in private label premium blend coffee. If you're serious about coffee, you should check it out. First Paw Coffee's passion is high-quality, small-batch roasted coffee. They take the extra time to taste and get everything perfect before they release new blends. They aim to bring you a cup of happiness each time you pour yourself some coffee. Find out more at ak.dog/free and enter for a chance to win some First Paw Coffee prizes, a book from our collection, and tote bag. One winner will be selected at random each month. That's ak.dog/free.
It's a fitting time to pay homage to some of history's most indomitable female dogs that went above and beyond, in one case literally, in service to humankind. Without further ado, let's dive right in.
From First Paw Media, sponsored by Alaska Dogworks Professional Canine Training Center in Anchorage, Alaska. This is Dogworks Radio, committed to families and their dogs to build lifelong and fulfilling relationships. Visit our website at dogworksradio.com. Now here are your hosts, Robert and Michele Forto.
Hello and welcome to Dogworks Radio. I'm Michele Forto. I'm the lead trainer of Alaska Dogworks. Here, we help owners and their dogs have better relationships. We have talked about a lot of famous dogs over the years on this podcast. We have even mentioned some of these dogs on the list, but I don't think we have ever paid homage to a female-only cadre all at once. One dog is super special to us on this list. Her name is Britannia, and we will talk about her later in the show. But did you know that we had a litter of sled dog puppies born on 9/11 1 year at our sled dog kennel, Timaneke, and we named them after the dogs that helped out in the disaster. One of them, who we called Bree, didn't quite make it as a sled dog, so we trained her as a service dog for a young man up here in Alaska. Over the years, Bree has helped this young man and even saved his life twice. Did you know that this special dog and her handler even share a birthday too? Okay, let's talk about some other famous female dogs. Up first are Strelka and Belka. Years before Sally Ride's historic journey, two other females went into space. On August 19th, 1960, the two mixed-breed dogs were on board the Sputnik 5 capsule, completing several orbits and returning safely. Because of the mission's success, the Soviets were able to send a man into space, cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin, shortly thereafter. These female dogs were instant heroes in the Soviet Union. They were preserved after death and are currently on display at the Museum of Cosmonautics in Moscow. Strelka's life has an especially interesting footnote. Nikita Khrushchev gave one of her puppies, Pushinka, to First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy, and Pushinka became one of the Kennedys' family's several presidential pups. Smokey. When we think of war dogs, we think of German Shepherd dogs, Belgian Malinois, and other imposing breeds. But one of the heroes of World War II was Smokey, a tiny Yorkshire Terrier. American soldiers found Smokey in a New Guinea foxhole, and she became the full-time companion of Corporal Bill Wynne. She ate what he ate and slept where he slept. More than that, Smokey flew rescue and reconnaissance missions and even barked to warn Corporal Wynne of incoming shells. Being a typical Yorkie, Smokey was adept at learning tricks and worked with special services to entertain soldiers in field hospitals. She continued to do so back in the U.S., having been sequestered in an oxygen mask case for the flight home. Smokey appeared on television and made public appearances while continuing to comfort soldiers in veterans' hospitals. In fact, because of her work with vets, Smokey is considered by some to be America's first therapy dog. There are memorials to her across the country and in Australia, including at the AKC Museum of the Dog in New York City. Sally. In a different war, much, much earlier than World War II, Sally, thought to be a bull-type terrier, also served alongside her men. Sally was given to First Lieutenant William Terry of the 11th Pennsylvania Volunteer Infantry during the Civil War. Only 4 weeks old at the time, Sally was raised with the regiment and became their mascot. She trained, marched, and even went into battle with her men. Sally became separated from the troops during the Battle of Gettysburg and was found 3 days later unhurt, guarding her wounded soldiers and the bodies of the fallen. But in 1865, at Hatcher's Run, Sally was shot and killed during the battle. Soldiers buried her on the battlefield even while the fight still raged around them. The monument to the 11th Pennsylvania at Gettysburg includes a likeness of Sally at the feet of her family of soldiers. Buddy. If you've ever been to Morristown, New Jersey, you've probably seen the statue of a man and his German Shepherd dog. The man is Morris Frank, who was blind, and the dog is Buddy, his guide dog. Yep, Buddy was a girl. In 1927, Frank read an article written by dog trainer Dorothy Harris Eustace about dogs being trained to guide blinded veterans of World War I. He reached out to her in Switzerland where she was training police dogs, and she agreed to help him find and train a guide dog of his own. Frank went to Switzerland and together they trained Buddy. The duo returned to New York City where they showed the kind of teamwork that guide dogs and their handlers are known for, crossing dangerous intersections and navigating crowded streets. Frank and Eustace went even further and worked together to create the Seeing Eye program in 1929, now based in Morristown, which was the very first training program of its kind. Because of them and Buddy, the blind could now enjoy new freedoms and mobility. Frank was instrumental in pushing for laws that would give service dogs access to public spaces, paving the way for the Americans with Disabilities Act. Luca. Many military female dogs have been instrumental in aiding troops during wartime, and Luca stands out for her service. The mixed breed Luca was trained to detect explosives and served with the Marines. She served in Iraq and Afghanistan, completing over 400 missions. During her 6 years of service, she protected the lives of countless soldiers. In 2012, during her last tour, Luca lost a leg in an IED blast, ending her military career. She was honored with the PDSA Dickin Medal, the canine version of Great Britain's Victoria Cross. Luca is the first U.S. Marine Corps dog to be awarded such an honor. After her service, Luca retired to live with Gunnery Sergeant Chris Willingham and his family. She is the only reason I made it home to my family, and I'm fortunate to have served with her, affirmed Willingham. Joffy. Some dogs take the phrase therapy dog to a whole new level, starting with Sigmund Freud's Chow Chow, Joffy. Freud, who had never been particularly fond of dogs, became a dog lover late in life. He acquired Joffy towards the end of his career, and she became his constant companion, especially during office hours. Freud believed that Joffy could actually read his patients' emotions. The dog sat close to patients who were calm and reacted to anxious or upset patients by moving across the room. Freud also believed that the dog had a calming effect on his patients, especially children, and that humans were more candid and relaxed in front of a non-judgmental presence like a dog. Joffy spent so much time in Freud's office that she knew the length of the patient's session, known as the 50-minute hour. As the end of the session approached, Joffy would yawn and stretch, even heading towards the door herself. Towards the end of a career marked by 2 world wars and the excruciating pain of jaw cancer, Freud is quoted as saying, Dogs love their friends and bite their enemies, quite unlike people who are incapable of pure love and always have to mix love and hate in their object relations. Rizelle. The Labrador Retriever guide dog Rizelle was with her owner Michael Hingson in his office on the 78th floor of Tower 1 when the World Trade Center was attacked on September 11th. When the plane crashed into the building 18 floors above her, Roselle calmly led Hinkson through the chaos down 78 floors. It took over an hour to make their descent and get out of the building. Even as Tower 2 collapsed, Roselle never wavered from her job, guiding Hinkson through the debris and smoke to shelter in a subway entrance. She then led her owner 40 blocks to a friend's apartment. After the attacks, Hinkson left New York for California, where he worked for Guide Dogs for the Blind. Roselle lived with Hinkson's family for the rest of her life, dying on June 26, 2011. She received the AKC Humane Fund Awards for Canine Excellence, or ACE, in 2002, as well as posthumously receiving the 2011 Hero Dogs Award from the American Humane Association. Britannia. There were many hero female dogs in the days after 9/11, including Britannia, a golden retriever. She and her handler, Denise Corliss, traveled from Texas, where Corliss was a volunteer firefighter, to help in the rescue and recovery efforts after the attack. It was the pair's first rescue and recovery mission. For 10 days, Britannia worked 12-hour shifts searching for survivors, sleeping outdoors with her handler, and comforting other emergency responders. When Britannia returned to Texas, she continued her work as a search dog with the Texas Task Force 1 and served in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. She and Corliss returned to New York in 2014 and 2016 to visit the September 11 memorial. Britannia died at age 16 in 2016. Members of the Texas Task Force and the Cy-Fair Volunteer Fire Department lined the sidewalk outside the veterinarian's office to say farewell. As we celebrate the many women who have shaped history, let's also salute these historic female dogs and give your dog some extra love this month. In her own way, she's adding so much to your life. Did you know the single best thing you can do is tell your family and friends about our show? Please show them how you listen and even have them subscribe so they never miss an episode. I'm Michele Forto for First Paw Media. See you next time.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by First Paw Coffee Company. Learn more at firstpaw.coffee.
From First Paw Media, this is DogWorks Radio. We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we invite you to subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll find a link on the episode notes. You can tap or swipe on the episode cover art, and you'll see some offers from our sponsors. You can support our show by supporting them. If you like what you have heard, we would love it if you could give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe too. Your hosts are Robert and Michele Forto. Our producer is Robert Forto and created for First Paw Media. Did you know that Alaska Dog Works trains service dogs for those in need throughout North America? Each and every service dog that is trained through the Lead Dog Service Dog Program and Michele Forto and her team has an individual training plan. We train for autistic, mobility, psychiatric, and PTSD for our soldiers for service work. If you know of someone that may need a service dog, please take a moment and check out Alaska Dog Works on social media and at alaskadogworks.com.